The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you.
Hello and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him. And I'm joined this week by...
My name is Hayden Orr. My pronouns are also he, him.
Yes, welcome back, Hayden. Appreciate you stepping in to help out. This one is one that we kind of talked about several months ago about having you on for, so I'm glad we're finally getting to do it. I should say we're talking about Mill of the Stone Women, which is an interesting... It's like I believe it is a German and it's like a co-production, but it very much feels like an Italian, like pre-Giallo Gothic kind of thing.
Everything I saw said it was an Italian film, but I mean it was definitely there's definitely some German stuff, like German actors and stuff going on as well.
I think it was filmed in Italy, but there's like a bunch. I think it was like a co-production. I did see it's considered to be the first in-color horror movie made in Italy.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. And it has a real like I mean I guess a lot of the Italian Gothic stuff is similar to like Hammer stuff. You know, there's a very similar Gothic vibe.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
definitely like Hammer and. Amicus, that kind of feel.
Yeah, absolutely. But this one's it's such a it feels like a mashup of a lot of stuff. There's all this kind of like House of Waxy stuff in it, but like it's I don't know. I really enjoyed this. I was kind of surprised at like the way that it went about things, I guess. But I guess we can get into that as we go through the story. We start out with like a boat docking in a small town and a man getting out asking for directions. He's looking to visit Professor Vall, a famous sculptor. And it's kind of weird. Like there's this, like the guy's like, it's off that way. You just got to go past the cemetery to the Mill of the Stone Women. That's what we call it. And he's like, that mill there? And he's like, no, not that one. The next one. So it's kind of like in a dream state almost. Like we only ever see the one mill. But yeah, I liked how I guess this is sort of like par for the course in like a small town, like a little island town. Like everything's just a little weird in places like that.
Oh yeah. And I gotta say, I love the mill itself, which we see is like the professor's home, which is attached to the huge windmill, and then the inside of it too is really, really like, I think that's a big part of what made me start loving this movie. Like as soon as I started watching it, I love those old movies that have got very specific kind of weird locations that they were shooting in, and this definitely I mean the windmill also is giving Frankenstein 31 vibes.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you're right. Like it's such a weird location, and it's sort of like unreal in a lot of ways. Like there's like secret passages and rooms that connect in strange ways. And I mean, once we get to the carousel, everything in this is just like strange.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we find out that our sort of protagonist, his name is Hans von Arnim. And when he gets to the mill, like the housekeeper, is kind of like standoffish until he says he's got an appointment with Val. and she sends him, she's like, okay, go wait here, I'll go get him. And again, in a very dreamy sort of way, while he's sitting there waiting, we see there's like this kind of like tapestry on the wall, like a curtain, it's like split down the middle, but like closed, and a dog comes out. It's like an Italian greyhound. Which I have, a regular, like a normal sized greyhound. I love it. I was right away like, that's an Italian greyhound. So he's kind of like looking at like, where did this strange dog come from? And then suddenly, the curtain kind of parts and we see like a beautiful woman peeking through for a minute. And then the curtain kind of goes closed and he's like, what was that? What's going on? And the housekeeper comes in and is like, it's time, let's follow me to the study. And so it's just like, nobody else saw this. So he's like, was that real? What was that about? Like, again, sort of playing with what's real and what's not, which is, I feel like, a big part of this movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love the dog. I thought it was very, unexpected. And it was so small, I didn't realize it was a dog at first. When I first saw it, I was like, is that a cat? Like, what is it? I was like, oh, it's a greyhound. Mm-hmm. And I kind of wish we got more of the dog, honestly. Spoiler alert, the dog is only in like one other scene, I think, that I can remember.
Yeah, there's like a mirror scene to this one later, and the dog sort of announces it. But yeah, so he's escorted up to Val's study, which is full of all of these beautiful, grotesque, like very lifelike sculptures. The sort of centerpiece is this like topless woman who has been hanged, and so like her body is beautiful, her face is distorted and grotesque because she's been hanged. Her
cheeks are bloated, her tongue is out, very realistic looking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the contrast there is very stark. Again, we have like a curtain, but this time it opens wide, and we have like a theatrical stage with all sorts of mannequins that roll out on tracks, kind of like those old clocks, where it would when it would strike, like there'd be a little track and different little figurines would come out and chop wood or whatever. But here it's like, life-size mannequins. Val comes out and is like, Conrad, stop, but not abruptly. And everything kind of stops. And we find out this is the carousel. Which I don't know if that's just like, when I hear the word carousel, I think of something completely different than this.
Yeah. I mean, maybe because it's set in an older time, and maybe carousel had a different meaning back then, or maybe it's just the fact that it's something that mechanically goes basically in a circle. But yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? And he says it's the centennial is why he's coming to visit. So that thing's been there for like 100 years.
Yeah. So supposedly Val's grandfather built this, and then it's like the family has just kind of like maintained it all these years. So like Val just kind of like keeps the gears and cogs running, and if any of the sculptures start to break down, as a brilliant sculptor himself, he's able to replace the parts as necessary. But he's very defensive and kind of like, he does not want to be interviewed by Hans. Like, he's like, I don't have time. I've got things of my own to deal with. I guess since you're here, I'll give you a couple days. Let's go. I'll give you a tour of the underneath the carousel, all the inner workings right now, and then I'll give you my notes that I've collected over the years, and you can kind of study those. But only here. You can't take them back to your room. I don't. It's kind of like when you go to the library, the like really old stuff where it's like you can only look at this here in this room. Hans agrees to that. Like he's not he's working on like an article, right? Like he's like a journalist sort of.
Yeah, he's a writer, and he's definitely writing a piece about Professor Val, but I don't think they ever say if he's writing for like a paper or if he's just writing something that's going to be put in a book. They don't really get into the specifics of that I can really remember.
Yeah. And as it goes, it becomes increasingly like irrelevant to like what's actually happening in the movie.
Yeah, that was just to get him into the mill, and after that, the premise of him writing something about Professor Vol goes basically out the fucking window.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like the noir movies where it's like, I'm an insurance adjuster, but suddenly I'm embroiled in this affair with a... It's just like, we just need to get these people in the same room, and then we'll let it go from there. But yeah, so he gets a tour, kind of like shows him around things. The other side of this is that, he has to look at the notes here, but also he can't stay too late because this mill is kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and he has to take a ferry back even just to the small village. So he has to, be done before the last ferry out every night, or he'll be trapped at the mill. We cut away to like later that evening, Vol talking to his housekeeper about, I don't know if he even says the name. He's just like, how's she doing or something, which, we're, right away you're like, oh, that's probably the girl who was looking, through the tapestry earlier. And she's like, oh yeah, she's fine. She's resting peacefully. And then we cut to like, I guess the next day we find out that in addition to being a sculptor, Vol is also like an art teacher, professor. He's like doing a class where there's like a live model, not like a nude thing, but just like a girl in front of the class. And we have like two other people that are sort of like, I guess, sort of like secondary characters. We'll find out their names are Ralph and Laurelise. Is that right? Or it's something.
It's
Lisa Lot.
Lisa Latte. Or Lisa Lot, yeah. Because he calls her Lottie sometimes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so they like Ralph is sort of hitting on the model. He's kind of a cad sort of guy. I wrote down in my notes, I was like, very light reprimanding for a sex pest, because he's literally trying to take a peek at the model as she's changing out of her her getup. Yeah, and it's definitely the kind of thing where like, Lisa Lott is like, oh, like she's not that bothered by it, but probably should be.
Ralph almost, like, if it wasn't for that one scene, he could kind of be seen as like a gay best friend to Lisa Lott, because he doesn't really have many other interactions with women that are like heterosexual, and he's always at Lisa Lott's side.
Yeah.
He's just kind of always with her and never really alone with Hans, except for a couple of scenes.
Yeah, and it does sort of feel like otherwise he would be like, the friend-zoned guy constantly hitting on Lisa Lott, but he never does. Like he...
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe he was intended to be that way, but the time and everything, we had to like throw in this little flirtatious thing at the beginning to nip that in the bud or whatever. So Lisa Lott, Ralph, and Hans have all been like friends since childhood. So like Hans has like gone away to a bigger city at some point, but is back in town. This is like where he grew up. And they're all really excited to see him again. We cut from them back to Hans, and he's like looking at the carousel by himself, and he sees that same girl from earlier up on like a balcony, or sort of like spiral stairs that go up away from the carousel.
It's like a loft area. There's some extra pieces of machinery that I guess are there for if something breaks down on the carousel, and it's like a storage area kind of, but there's rooms that are further back off the loft. Mm-hmm.
Again, sort of this like maze-like quality to the place, where there's just like little passages everywhere off of going in every direction. But Hans gets like, he's looking at this beautiful woman and like curious, but he gets distracted, interrupted by this man who's like, do you have a light? He's got a cigar, and Hans he's like, yeah, sure, but he keeps looking up at the girl, and the guy's like, hey, I asked for a light, and he's like, okay, fine. And so he lights the guy's cigar, and we find out his name is Dr. Bolam. And he's extremely German. Like he is, in fact, I looked him up. He's mostly known. He played Dr. Mabuse in like a bunch of, there's like, I don't know, dozens of those films. That's like a whole like, cottage industry in German were the Dr. Mabuse films. And he's the guy. He's Dr. Mabuse. So, kind of famous for being sort of like a villainous German. I think once Hans gives him the light, the girl's gone, and he's just kind of like, Hans just leaves. He's not really interested in talking to this guy. We cut back to Ralph and Lisa Lot, who are now at a pub, and there's like a tavern girl on a stage dancing and singing, and she is the model from earlier. So, small town, everybody knows each other. They're just this, same people keep popping up in scene after scene. And I think, Dr. Bolam is also there. So, like, some amount of time has passed.
Yeah, he's like sitting at a table kind of off by himself watching the singing and dancing act that's happening inside of the pub or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like he's just kind of, he just gives off bad vibes. You right away you're like, I don't trust this guy. But meanwhile, Hans arrives outside the pub. Lisa Lot has like walked outside, and they bump into each other. And she's kind of like frustrated with him. He was supposed to be here earlier, and he's like, I'm sorry, I've got this weird time window. I really got to use the time I've got at Walls. I don't like. So yeah, it's going to be tricky for me to like get out early. Like I really kind of have to like dial in. I've only got a couple days. So they go back inside and they meet Ralph and sit down. And this is Ralph seems to know a little bit more about like the backstory of Vol, like that he does have a daughter. So that kind of like confirms what Hans suspected. Her name is Elfie, and rumor has it she's been locked up in the mill since she was a child. So she must just be this like ill invalid, hideous. Like Ralph kind of goes.
Oh yeah.
She must be. There must be a reason that she's been locked away all this time.
It's that classic trope of weird older male figure, whether it's a father or a brother or something, that has a female that's somehow related to them locked away. That's like a trope that's in like dozens and dozens of books and movies. I think the first time the earliest that I can think of is like Rappaccini's Daughter. Okay. That old Hawthorne story.
Yeah,
I think that might be maybe the first one, because that's like 1840 something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and even like Edward Scissorhands is kind of that. It's just like
just gender flipped.
Yeah. But yeah, there's just this this person who's not safe for the outside world, or wouldn't be safe in the outside world. One or the other. They're the danger, or the world would be a danger to them, so they must be locked away. But Hans is like, I think I saw her, and she did not seem freakish to me. She seemed healthy and attractive, and of course, Lisa Lot doesn't like that he's noticing how attractive this girl is. And I think then we just kind of like, like she's... It doesn't feel too like angry, but there's just like a little bit of like, ribbing each other, and then we just kind of cut to like the next day where Hans is studying. And now that we know Elfie exists, of course she's like, introduced into the story for real. She comes and talks to Hans. He's like, why don't you sit here while I'm working? You can hang out. And she's like, no, I'm afraid people are watching. I don't want. But maybe come by and see me later this evening. No one will see then. So he's like, okay, because he's definitely curious. He wants to know what's going on with all this.
Oh yeah.
Then we have later Elfie playing the piano. This seems to be her like sort of, which I guess is also sort of a thing. You often have like this person is a piano virtuoso for some reason. I guess this
right.
It was like the Fly. I think it was like Return of the one of the like.
I think it's Return of the Fly.
Yeah. So Hans is away. He's doing his studying thing while she's doing this. But Bolam comes in, and we find out that Bolam feels some sort of like ownership over Elfie. He compliments her passionate playing, and she's like, the passion's not for you. And he's like, I know, but I'm the only one who really knows you, so I'm the only one who you have the right to love. Like I basically like I own you because I'm the only one who you can be truly yourself around, because you have secrets and I know them.
Yeah, the bad vibes were correct earlier. This guy is like the biggest scumbag in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we go from that to like later that night, Hans going to visit Elfie as promised. And he like just lets himself into her room and she's asleep, but he like wakes her up. And she's like, I was dreaming that you were coming to see me, so I'm so glad to like wake up and the dream has come true. And she's like very flirty with him. She's like into him, you know. And he's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
What about afterwards? Like, if we do this right now, what does this mean to you? Because like I'm not going to be here forever. Like, I don't want you to think that like we're going to get married or whatever. And she's like, no, don't worry. I know I'm not so deluded as to think that. So
Except she is. Spoiler alert, Elfie is a little crazy.
yeah, she is very down bad for him, and so he's like, all right, I'll let you seduce me. They have sex, and then we cut to the next day, him going into his little study area to look over the notes again, and there's a vase full of roses, which is not a thing that a girl who's not into you would do. Like, this is not a no strings attached situation here.
Yeah, that's an immediate, maybe you should stop writing and just go back to the village and forget any of this was happening.
Yeah, definitely no good. He starts working, or he's getting ready to start working, and the housekeeper comes in and she's like, you got some friends who are looking for you? They're downstairs. And he's like, okay. So he goes, and of course it's Ralph and Lisa Lott, who are enjoying the carousel. They're watching it, and we see that again up on that like sort of spiral staircase balcony area. Elfie's up there watching all this play out, and she is clearly very jealous of the relationship that Hans has with Lisa Lott.
Oh yeah, she sees them embrace, and she like gets a very angry, upset look.
And Hans, on the other hand, this kind of feels like last night was sort of like a bachelor party thing where he's like, I've had time to think about love. Like, I think I understand love now, and I'm not sure that I'm worthy of your love, and I'm ashamed to tell you why, but if you could forgive me of all my past sins, I'm yours. And she's like, yeah, of course, I love you. I could forgive anything. Like, I'm ready to start a life together.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I was not expecting, I thought that he was going to be like a little bit more involved in this affair with Elfie, but he straight up the next day is like, all right, I got laid. Now I'm gonna lock it down with Lisa Lott.
Yeah, I had my little indiscretion, but now it's time to settle down. So of course, Elfie doesn't like this, but she goes into his study and writes a note for him that says, "I must see you tonight. You must tell me everything, or else." Obviously as you said, she's definitely crazy as well. There's some ominous behavior going on from her as well. And then we have the carousel turning on and getting to watch it. And Lisa Lott does not like, once it's in motion and we have like the kind of creepy mannequins, that are often in sort of like, grisly positions and stuff. She like screams and faints. And that's when like Wall comes in and is like, oh, let's get her to, lay her down and let her like, wake up and everything. I think he has like smelling salts that he uses on her.
Which I don't know if we said before, but the carousel is specifically all women that are either being like executed in some like old-fashioned way. Like there's one that's being burned at the stake, there's one that's hung, and then there's some women that are like evil female archetypes. Like there's a woman that's putting poison into a drink. But it is specifically all women on this carousel.
Yeah, which is, as the guy mentioned earlier, and as the title of the film would indicate, these are the stone women. These are like, it's all these sort of like macabre sculptures of these women. Once Vol gets Lisa Lott woken up, He also, I guess, I don't know if when she fell or whatever, but there's like a little bit of blood on her that he like dabs up with like a handkerchief.
I think Vol says that he, or she may have accidentally poked herself with one of her hat pins.
Okay. And yeah, like, I think then it's like, Wall is like, why don't you rest up so you'll be ready for class later this week? You should, and Hans, once your friends leave, come visit me in my study. I need to talk to you about something. And when he walks out, he's sort of like looking at the bloody handkerchief, like happy that he got it, and he kind of like tucks it away. And there's this is the first sort of indicate. I mean, I guess Vol's sculptures are definitely sort of like dark and grisly, but this is the first indication that like something's up with Vol as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we have Hans going in to visit Vol, and Vol wants to talk about Elfie. He's like giving the backstory that Hans may not know. Like, I've seen that she's been talking to you. I noticed you all are getting a rapport or whatever, but I want to let you know she's very ill. Her mother had this rare disease that killed her, and that's why Dr. Bolam is here. He's keeping her alive, basically. Like, we're doing our best to keep her well, but she doesn't really understand how bad her situation is. So, I just, as her father, I'm trying to keep her safe. And if you've got designs on her or whatever, like I need to protect her from heartbreak, and I just need to like keep her safe.
Right.
Hans is like, oh, don't worry. Like there's nothing untoward going on. Like, it's strictly platonic. Just obviously not let Vol know about the reality. And I think then we have just like later, Hans again talking to Elfie, and she's overtures of love, that he's the only one for her and all this, and he's like, no, we said this was going to be chill, and I made a mistake. I've got I have somebody else. Like, it's just, this can't happen.
Yeah, it's funny. Literally, like everything basically that happens with Vol and Elfie after Hans sleeps with her is just like him realizing more and more what a fuck up, like what a mistake he's made, because he's having to like, oh fuck, oh god, like lie to Vol about him and Elfie, and then Elfie is like clearly desperately in love with him, and he's just it was kind of comical.
Yeah, he has like gotten way in over his head very quickly. Like, he has no idea the real situation. Like, he's just kind of bumbled his way into something that he is not equipped to handle. And I think then Elfie's like, I saw you with that other girl, and I'll kill her. Like, nothing's gonna stop me from being with you. But she gets so riled up that she like faints. So clearly there is some sort of health thing going on with her.
Yeah, and she starts like spitting blood a little bit from her mouth too.
Mm-hmm. And Hans is panicking. He's like, he picks her up. He like, he's trying to find help. He like passes through Vol's like little workroom area, but he's not there. As he's going through, she has like this bracelet with a lot of like big charms on it, sort of, and it like slips off her wrist and just falls perfectly onto the outstretched hand of a sculpture as they're going through. Hans passes through into the next room, which is Elfie's bedroom, and he like lays her down in the bed, and then realizes like, oh no, she doesn't have a pulse. He like takes a mirror, holds up to her nose to see if it fogs up, and it does not. She seems to be dead. So obviously he's scared because it kind of looks like he did this, like he kind of runs out in a panic.
Because I think she even has like some bruising around her neck too, so it kind of looks like he might have like strangled her or something. It looks really incriminating for Hans.
Absolutely, yeah. So that like I think the next thing we see is just him kind of like wandering through the village in a daze. He has like bandages on his wrist that he keeps like messing with, which like I think that maybe like he got scratched by her when she fell or something. He's hiding something there, and it seems like it's part of this, but I never really caught exactly what happened there.
I don't really remember either, and Dr. Bolam like mentions it at one point, but there's no wound there, in that scene when he points it out. So I don't I don't remember either what that was supposed to be.
Yeah, it's strange, but he ends up like he's in the village, but then he like ends up taking a ferry back to the mill, and like everybody on the ferry is real quiet. It almost seems like everybody knows that everybody's in mourning for Elfie.
Well, I think they are. The other people on the ferry are like going to a funeral. I think they're wearing like mourning attire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it adds to that kind of like otherworldly, like gothic, weird. Like not is this really happening? Right now vibe.
Yeah. Again, it's just everything's so dreamlike, and so when he gets back to the mill, he's like, I need to speak to Professor Vol right away. And the housekeeper's like, he's asleep. It's the middle of the night. You can sit in his study, and when he's awake, I'll let you know. Or I guess it's like early morning. It's not like the middle of the night. But then we see that Vol is actually already awake and is like eavesdropping on this conversation. Hans, rather than just sitting around, he's just wandering. He's still sort of in a daze. Like, I think I killed a girl, or it at least looks like I killed a girl. So he's just kind of like just wandering. We again, as he's walking around, he passes that statue, and the bracelet is still hanging there on its hand. But then he goes into Elfie's room, which is empty, and he's just kind of like staring at this bed, sort of thinking about what happened. Then when he comes back, that bracelet is gone. He doesn't notice this, but the camera lets us know that that's happened.
Oh yeah, it's like an aggressive zoom in on the hand too. It's like, look, pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely wants us to know, because it's going to become, a big part of what's going on. So I think then Hans is like, I guess I'll go start working on my project while I'm waiting. And when he gets there are roses in the vase again, but these are like fresh, new roses. And he asks the housekeeper, he's like, has anybody been in here since I was last in here yesterday? And she's like, no, nobody's gone in here. And he's like, what's up with this rose then? Who put that here? And she's like, I don't know. It wasn't me. I haven't seen anybody. At that point, Bolum comes into the study and is like, Vol's awake. He's asking for you. And he's like, but you don't look great. Like, you look like you're feverish. And, Hans is like, yeah, I don't feel great. So he's like, well, here, take these meds and then go talk to
yeah, he pulls out like an Altoids tin of fucking Valium. He says that they're sedatives, and he just is carrying them loosely in his coat pocket, which I guess, I mean, a doctor back then, that probably wasn't that abnormal.
Yeah. And so I think then when he goes to or when Hans goes to talk to Vol, he's like sort of ranting at this point. He's like really out of it, which only now I'm realizing, like, of course the shit that Bolum gave him was not just pain reliever or whatever.
It's in that scene, I guess their way of subtly implying that he's hallucinating all of this is they put an echo on Vol's voice, because the next time he talks to Vol, that's like really there's no echo. It's just like regular audio.
Yeah, again, sort of this the dream sequence kind of thing. So he has this whole like feverish conversation where Vol calls him a coward and a murderer. But then he's like, just be quiet about it all, though. Don't say anything to anybody. Just let Elfie rest in peace in her grave. She was sick anyway. Just, don't make this any worse than it has to be. And like, as this whole confrontation's going on, at some point, like Hans, looks away, and when he looks back, Vol's just gone. So like, he thinks, like, in his mind this really all happened, but yeah, right away I was like, this is some sort of hallucination, or at least is meant to seem like it. And again, like Bolum checks on Hans at that point and is like, you should lay down. It seems like what I gave you is not helping. You just need some rest. And I think this is when we have like him asking about the bandages on his wrist.
Yeah.
There's like a knife sticking out of the ground that Hans looks at when he said, like, when they're talking about this, and it made me think, like, was there some stuff we didn't see earlier?
Well, I remember there's a shot of Elfie holding that knife earlier in the film, but it doesn't really, it's literally like a split-second shot, and then we see the knife in that little, like, hallucination scene, and then it doesn't really come back.
Yeah, I wonder if we're supposed to, like, you know, when she's, like, threatening that she's gonna kill Lisa Lot, maybe she had the knife, and then when she faints, it, like, cuts his wrist as she's falling or something, but I don't think that's shown, but, like, maybe we're supposed to put that together. Yeah, either way, like, Hans is like, okay, so he's gonna leave, but he first peeks into Elfie's room again, where he sort of sees a ghostly image of himself laying Elfie down in her bed, like he's remembering this, you know, what happened. But then she sits up in the bed and points at him, like, you did this, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, the hallucinations continue. He's not in, like, real space at this point. And in fact, he's interrupted from this sort of hallucination by the piano. So he goes running downstairs, but the piano room door is locked, and he's like banging on it, and nobody will let him in. And the piano has just like stopped by the time he gets there. So did that really happen? Who knows? Like it's very unclear. This is when he goes back to Wall's study, and he sees that bracelet laying on Vol's his desk or whatever. And this is when we get our second appearance of the Italian Greyhound, who again comes out from between the like, you know, curtains or whatever. And this time, instead of it being like, you know, Elfie looking out, just her like hands reach out.
Yeah.
And it felt, I mean, I don't know if I'm like, you know, being a little too Freudian here, but the way that the tapestry opened felt very like vaginal. Like it's, you know, there's just, it's like open in like that specific kind of like, you know, tight at the top and bottom, and the hands are sort of reaching out, trying to pull him in. It felt like that was, I wasn't working too hard to find that metaphor. I think it was there on purpose.
Yeah, it more than likely was, because it's very, like you said, it's very, it's like a Giorgio O'Keeffe painting or something, almost.
Yeah. But, you know, he like, again, kind of runs away. He's just very shaken up by everything he's seeing. He's hearing the speech that Vol gave him earlier in his head, wandering through the like, workroom where all the sculptures not in the carousel are. And there's also, again, I don't know that he notices this, but the camera really lingers on like a skull sitting on a pedestal.
Yeah.
That I think it really wants us to notice that, you know, there's these sculptures presumably that are just clay all the way down, but why is there a skull? What could the skull be there for?
Yeah. What are these, as Eric would say, what are those four shadows doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. And he runs into the next room, which is like a cemetery. And like I think at some point, like Vol says, like she's laid to rest at the town cemetery. But the cemetery seems to be like directly connected to the mill, or like right next to it or something.
Oh yeah.
But he finds Elfie's tomb and opens it up, and at first it's just like you just see him kind of reaching down, and there's all these flowers. But then underneath there's Elfie. She is seems to be dead, and she's holding that bracelet. Again, that bracelet, it just keeps popping up. It's just everywhere. Hans is like, I just saw that in the next room, like just a minute ago. So he runs back in there, and the bracelet's gone now. It's not on the table. So yeah, I mean, I think at this point, like, he has just lost all connection to reality. He's just like in a hallucinatory panic, just kind of like running from place to place, getting scared by stuff. Then what was he goes back to the carousel, right? So
Yeah.
and he hears moaning that like leads him down into the inner workings where like Vol gave him the initial like tour or whatever. He eventually finds like there's a room where like the door is like mostly closed, but there's like a crack there, and he sees inside that room is the model / dancing girl tied to a chair.
Her name is Anna Lore.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, what? And the door slams before he can go through. And, you know, he's freaking out. He starts pounding on the door. Let me in. But then Bolam appears outside the door and is like, what's going on? You seem upset. And he's like, yeah, I just saw a lady tied up in that room. I'm trying to save her. And Bolam's like, that doesn't... there shouldn't be any ladies tied up. That doesn't make any sense. And so Bolam is like, well, I've got keys. So he opens the door, and of course, the room is empty. Further evidence that Hans is, you know, crazy. He's like, I got to talk to Vol. Something weird's going on. I need to figure it out. We need to all get together and, you know, get to the bottom of this. So he's basically just like running around the mill, yelling, pounding on doors, just like trying to find Vol. Eventually, Vol comes out and is like, what is going on? Why are you yelling? I thought we had all this worked out.
Well, I think they say it's also really late. I think they say it's like 1 a.m. or something like that.
Okay, yeah. And, you know, Hans is like, I demand an explanation. Something's not right here. And Vol's like, you're the guy running around my house yelling in the middle of the night? I demand an explanation. What are you doing? And Hans is like, you know, when you told me to, like, be chill about the whole death thing earlier. And Vol's like, what? We haven't talked since Elfie died. I don't know what you're talking about. Or no, he says we haven't talked, you know, in a while. And he's like, you know, from, like, what happened to Elfie. And Bolam's like, what do you mean what happened to Elfie? She's upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And Hans is like, what? No, I mean, she died. It wasn't my fault. I didn't kill her, but she did die. She died. We saw it. You talked to me about it. The bracelet that moved, it was in the tomb, and you know, he's just raving, you know. And at that point, Elfie just comes walking down the stairs, just totally fine. And she,
I think, because Hans says, you told me she was entombed at this specific cemetery, and I think, I might be misremembering, but I think they say that there is no such cemetery in the village.
Yeah, maybe so. They're just, I mean, you know, definitely everything that Hans thinks is happening, they are contesting all of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, Elfie coming down the stairs really just kind of puts a cap on everything. She's there. And, you know, she's like, it's good to see you, Hans, but you seem out of sorts. What's going on? Vol is like, Elfie, you need to go back to bed. Something strange is going on, but you don't need to be involved. You need your rest. She leaves, and Vol is like, why don't you go back to town? You just don't seem like you're in a good place. I don't think it's safe for you to be here, for you or for us. Let's just call it for today. We can talk later when you're a little bit more together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll have somebody come get you, but while we're waiting, like, tell me a little bit more about why you think all of these things. Meanwhile, we have Elfie upstairs with Bolam, who's trying to, like, tuck her in or whatever. And she's like, you're trying to keep me away from Hans because you know that I love him and you're jealous. And Bolam's like, no, you need your rest. You're not well. And she's like, Hans makes me feel well. He is life itself. And he's like, no, only I am life for you. I'm the only one who can keep you alive. Hans is certain death. You know, if you betray me with him, I'm gone, and then you're on your own. And Bolam's like, I wonder if Hans would still be interested in you if he knew what you really were. Elfie's not scared. She's like, you wouldn't tell him because that would ruin everything for you. You're too much of a coward. I think then we have downstairs Vol being like, okay, I've heard enough. You should keep that to yourself because people are going to think you're crazy. Why don't you just head back to town and get some rest?
Yeah, these people have definitely seen the movie Gaslight. Like, just absolutely.
Yes.
This poor guy.
Sure. Yeah, and yeah, so as soon as Hans leaves, Vol and Bolum can just like, get rid of, or like not worry about, keeping up appearances. They're just straight up bad guys now. They're like, haha, this worked.
Like, literally as soon as the door closes, it's like, our plan worked.
Yeah, they're like, the drugs, it worked. It broke the line between reality and hallucination. He has no idea what really happened. And Bolum's like, I don't know, I still think we should have killed him. I think this is a loose end. He's a danger as long as he's alive, because Elfie loves him and she's going to keep trying to reconnect with him. He saw her die. Like, I think he's going to keep picking at that. And Vol's like, if he starts coming back around, then we can kill him. But for now, I think it's better to just let him think he's crazy. And then we hear Elfie again moaning in the next room. So Vol and Bolum run in to help her. And we finally start to get some of the pieces of what's going on here. So they come to check on her. I think Vol is checking on her while Bolum rolls in, a hospital slab with the other girl who obviously was really there in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be transfusing her blood through a machine, swapping it into Elfie because Elfie has sick blood.
Yeah.
I don't think these are any sort of real... She has some sort of, presumably a cancer of the blood or something. But...
Yeah, they got some vampire movie in our Frankenstein movie a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And it feels like this time period was really fascinated with blood transfusions. It wasn't that long ago that we had House of Dracula that had all the blood transfusion stuff.
Yeah.
We also see here Elfie wakes up as it's going, and she looks over and sees this girl dying, and she smiles. Like, she knows all of this. This is not like she's out of the loop on it.
Yeah.
Then we have... Back in town, Ralph and Lieselot come to check in on Hans, knowing that he's not doing so well. It seems like some amount of time has passed. Basically, like, there's a doctor who's like, yeah, it was nervous exhaustion, but he's going to pull through. He'll be fine. And they're like, but he seemed fine a day or two ago. Like, how did this happen so quickly? And the doctor's like, it sometimes just, can be sudden. Like, you just... you can visit him, just don't exhaust him, don't overdo it. So then they go in, and but again, I guess this is where I thought that some time had passed, because Lieselot seems like she's been visiting him for a couple days. She's like,
mm-hmm.
You've been professing your love in your delirium for days. And he's like, when am I allowed to get out of bed? And she's like, the doctor said you should stay in bed still a few more days. And he's like, nope, can't wait that long. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, you have to. And he's like, nope, I gotta go right now to talk to your parents about marrying me. Like, yeah. And she's like, okay, sure, okay, I'll approve that. We go back to the mill where Bolum is like, okay, I'll help you with the final step. We're gonna really cure Elfie forever, but I want her hand in marriage. You got to give her to me. Just super creep, it's the worst. Like,
yeah,
either she dies or she's mine, and I won't accept anything else. Vol is like, no, as evil as Vol has been throughout this, he's like, no, she's a person. She gets to decide who she loves. I'm not going to do that. Bolum is like, then I'm going to leave you to doing what you're doing for now. Like, I'm the doctor, but I'm not helping you get rid of the bodies like I used to. So this is the big reveal that is not much of a big reveal. It's not a huge shock that, like,
yeah,
these girls are all, all the sculptures are actual dead bodies.
Yeah, he's doing a house of wax.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So we see him doing this with the girl. He like poses her. He injects her with some sort of petrifying agent of some kind.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 times they refer to them as like mummified bodies when they, like, once people start realizing that they are actually bodies underneath wax. Mm-hmm, so it's definitely some kind of like emollient or something to keep them fresh, but also like help keep them stiff so that the pose stays.
Yeah. And he is smart enough, at least, that he does kind of like sculpt clay over her face to kind of like distort the features a little bit and make it look more like a sculpture than an actual real person.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, we see that Bolam has continued like, his research, and he has found the perfect match. We can really do it. We can cure her for good. And that perfect match, of course, is the drop of blood from the handkerchief. It's Lisa-Lot. We got to kill Lisa-Lot.
She's the same blood type. She's the perfect match.
Mm-hmm. Back with Hans, he has come to visit Lisa-Lot. So again, some amount of time. It's a little fuzzy here. He's coming to visit her, and her housekeeper is like, I hate to say this, propriety and all that, but she didn't come home last night. I haven't seen her since yesterday afternoon. Hans is like, what? I just talked to her. Like, I went to go talk to her parents. Like, she should be expecting me. And they're like, this doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for where she could be. They start searching the room, trying to find something. As they're doing this, they find a photograph of Lisa-Lot with a couple female friends, including it's a black and white photo, of course, but like Hans is like, I've seen that girl before. She's a redhead, right? And Ralph's like, yeah, she is, but how do you know that? You've never met her before. And Hans is like, wait, how did I hallucinate the death and all of that? But I saw that girl, that she's real. And I knew she had red hair, so I really saw her. How can this be? And Ralph's like, yeah, what are you talking about? So
yeah, he says that she was supposed to have left for Paris like 2 days ago.
So they're finally like, wait, so if that's real, all of it's real. So what does that mean? Like, this is crazy shit. Now we gotta get back to the mill. We gotta figure this out. And Ralph's
which is
like,
that's a little bit of a leap in logic to me, but I mean, they had to, they were getting close to the end. They had to get him back to the mill. So
yeah, I feel like that. I would, I mean, there's still some things to be done before you show up at the mill. Probably bring some more people than just like your one bro.
Right.
But of course, yeah, like you said, we're nearing the home stretch here. We got to get everybody, all the pieces on the board together. Bolam is like, okay, the final transfusion can happen tonight. Wall is like, all right, well, Conrad, can you take our new sculpture down to the carousel? Conrad, of course, he's happy to do that. But Ralph is like, I guess before we go into the mill and confront all of them, maybe we can sneak into the cemetery and see what's going on there. So they do, and they, of course, find now Elfie's tomb is empty.
Mm-hmm.
But they also find there's like a sort of like a little alcove, like like a little window off to the side, like where you would see like, archers in like a castle or whatever. And kind of collapsed in this corner, tucked away, is a very accurate wax dummy of Elfie. Presumably that's what, Hans saw to begin with.
Yeah.
So we go back to the lab where everything is getting ready to start playing out. It's storming. We don't really need that for this. This isn't that kind of Frankenstein story, but like, yeah, might as well, just for the vibes. Elfie is talking to Lisa-Lot, and she's like, I was always afraid of storms as a little girl, but I was all alone. Unlike you, you always had Hans. You were able to cuddle with him during storms when you were growing up, so I'm sure that you always felt safe. And now I'm gonna get to feel safe like that as soon as I take all your blood.
Yeah, just absolutely unhinged.
Yep. Bolam is meanwhile bragging about the procedure, and Vol is like, you thought of almost everything. We're all set. This is great. And that's Ralph and Hans. Meanwhile, have snuck into the mill. They're kind of watching what's happening. And because of the storm, the windmill is also spinning like crazy. The wind is really picking up. So that's caused. I guess the windmill is what powers the carousel. So.
Yeah, they've been kind of vague about it, but I think that was the general idea, is that the windmill moves the cogs and gears of the carousel itself.
There's still like a lever where you can make it turn off or on, but like if it's on, the windmill is what powers it. and somebody bumps that lever, and so suddenly, the carousel starts going, but it's like
dark and stormy, and the shadows are everywhere. So they're really getting it ready.
Yeah, and of course we have our new addition to the carousel. Ralph and Hans come into this room, seeing all this happen, and as things are going, suddenly the head gets knocked off of the new sculpture, and Ralph goes to pick it up, and he's like, "Wait, this isn't clay. This isn't wax. This isn't clay. This is a person." And then he's like, "Oh, this is her. This is like, oh shit!" Like, so now they're figuring out the reality of what's going on around here. I think they hear a scream at that point, and they're just like, drop the head and run. Like, we got to get to Lisa Lot. She's definitely in danger at this point. The procedure's about to begin. I think again, Bolum is like, I want to marry Elfie, and Vol is like, no, you're an outcast. You're a criminal. I brought you out of your situation because I needed your help, but I don't need you anymore. You've already set everything in motion. And he just stabs Bolum. As Bolum like collapses and is bleeding out, he's like, by killing me, you've murdered your own daughter. But Vol is like, I've seen this procedure. I know how to do this. So he starts up the machine. He's looking all mad scientist at this point. His eyes are kind of wild. And he's like, I'm going to be the only person there when Elfie awakes for the last time. She'll know that her dad saved her for good. But then he's like, where's the serum? I need to inject. Where is it? And he's like, Bolum, where's the serum? But Bolum's dead. And then he sees leaking liquid that's not blood, leaking out through Bolum's coat. And when he goes to check, of course, he stabbed Bolum directly through the serum. Like, yeah. So he's obviously panicked because this is the last of the serum, and he doesn't have Bolum to help him make more. So things are bad now, and he's already kind of like, he is sort of detached from reality at this point. He's like, kind of stumbling around. He's knocking lanterns over. They're catching things on fire. I think he picks up Elfie and tries to like carry her out, just abandoning Lisa Lot, tied down. But thankfully, that's when Hans and Ralph break in, and they rescue Lisa Lot. And I think they kind of chase after, like they're trying to get out as well. So they follow behind Vol, who has like collapsed in the carousel room, which again, like, because so he left the study area and they didn't cross each other's paths though, so there seems like there's some kind of like cyclical stuff here where like,
yeah,
they've basically swapped rooms but not past each other in the doorway. But they go back into the carousel and see, Vol kind of just like laying there next to his daughter who has died. And, he's like, this is all your fault. This is everyone's fault. I did my best. I was a good father, and it didn't work out. Everybody conspired against me and ruined all my plans. Somehow the carousel, of course, has to kick on one more time. So the bodies start moving through, but now to really just nail this ending, they're all on fire because the whole, the mill's on fire. So we just have these like, corpses with wax faces burning up, moving. Well,
I think Professor Vol specifically throws a lantern onto the carousel because when he says that this is everybody's fault, I think he says something along the lines of like, I want everybody to burn, and he throws an oil lantern onto the carousel.
While that's all going on, Vol at some point, like, he climbs up those stairs to the balcony where we first, encountered Elfie, and he's yelling at the corpses to be quiet. They're gonna wake his sleeping little girl, like, definitely just fully broken from reality. And Hans and Ralph carry Lisa Lot out as the windmill burns. As you said, so Frankenstein 31. We now have a burning windmill with our good guys, our heroes, standing off in the distance, looking on as it burns down. Meanwhile, Vol is still inside, just fully insane, just basically choosing to burn up.
We're getting close-ups of the figures. The wax is melting, and we're getting to see the skulls and like bones underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So the ending is like they just took House of Wax and the like 1931 Frankenstein and kind of smashed them together.
Yeah, it's great. Like this ending is just, it's so intense, it's so wild. This movie is so much fun. Like it kind of starts with this sort of like slow burn, sort of gothic vibe, and there's plenty of these. I guess this is kind of the thing with a lot of those movies is they ramp up as they go, but this feels like it ramps up so much harder than the average one. It's not the kind of thing where like, oh, is this lady a ghost? Maybe not. Maybe she's really alive. That we see a lot, like the movies with Barbara Steele in them. It feels like she's like, in an old painting, but also maybe alive, and one of those kind of deals. But like here, I think the insanity subplot just really ramps it up to a whole new level.
It gave me at certain points. It was giving me. Speaking of Vincent Price and House of Wax, it was giving me vibes from Corman's Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah. There's a lot of Price movie. House on Haunted. I always get the House on Haunted Hill is the one with Price, where he also is trying to trick people into thinking something's going on, and scaring. There's just a lot of gaslighting is the word for sure, of just like using people's mental health as like a cudgel, basically, to like get what you want out of them. So I think that's the thing about this movie that's so cool, is it sort of mashes up a lot of things that you've seen before, but in a way that feels like nothing you've ever seen before. So you're like, oh, this House of Wax. Okay, the burning windmill. Yeah, the fake insanity plot that like a lot of noir movies do as well. Like there's just so much of this. But
like homegrown mad science, which honestly, when I first started watching, I was expecting it to be like a more supernatural bend to Elfie's existence. I wasn't expecting, rare blood disease that they're killing women to fix.
Yeah, it's definitely a surprise angle, especially for the time, and it, is why I think of this as being, somewhat Frankenstein-y. Like there is this aspect of like a murderous scientist who will stop at nothing to gain power over life and death.
Right.
But it's just such a fun, wild movie. Really, really great. Like I had so much fun watching this.
Yeah.
I think that's all. I don't know. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I mean, like I have to agree. I really enjoyed it, when we had spoken about it before, I kind of had a feeling I was going to like this movie before I had even watched it. And definitely recommend. If you like those old Corman Poe movies, if you like those old Italian gothic horrors from the 60s, I definitely check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to promote anything while you're here? I know you're...
If you want to go listen to the episodes of my podcast that we do have out, it's Last Book on the Shelf. I've said before, we're having trouble working out scheduling stuff, and also one of our co-hosts is being kind of wishy-washy on whether or not he wants to continue. We're trying to figure that out still. It's frustrating, but we do have like a year's worth of episodes and a little bit more out. You look it up, Last Book on the Shelf. You can find them there. We do book reviews, and then also we talk about movies and TV shows as well. So if you want to go check it out, it's there. But I will preface, we're not currently putting any new episodes out. So
Yeah, there's some great stuff in the like the I definitely recommend checking out the backlog. There's a lot of fun stuff in there, and maybe some some familiar guests over there as well.
Oh, yeah, I wonder who it could be.
And of course, you can find us, on all the socials at the Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. We're also on YouTube and at patreon.com/thefrankencast, where, if you're missing Eric over here, in the meantime, till he gets back to the normal schedule, there's plenty of backlog of episodes with him over there. So come check out us talking about the Munsters and porn parodies and all kinds of nonsense. So
highly recommend the Patreon. It's crazy how much content you guys have on Patreon for like how not long you've been doing the podcast. Like, you've got as much extra content backlogged as like podcasts that have been around for like 10 years.
Yeah, I've been surprised that we have been able to keep up, basically 2 episodes a week the whole time. Like, I think we started the Patreon a couple months into the show, and we've managed to keep it up the whole time. So yeah, there's I haven't, we keep count of the main feed episodes, but I have no idea how many. I would say it's well over 100, probably not quite 100, but yeah, there's a good chunk of stuff over there you can spend your time with. Oh, I guess next week we will be, I believe, Hayden, we will be back, and probably, I think we'll be talking about Frankenstein created bikers.
Yeah. Did he? Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so join us next week for what is sure to be a wild and crazy ride.
Yeah.
And until then,
to be continued.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.